tested quiz. They shooting shots, hitting bricks. We testing the kids.
Welcome to Deeper Thrones on the most entertaining World of Ice and Fire podcast. I'm your host, Sim. Sheedy's here. What's up, Sheedy?
Hey.
And we have this very special guest here, Mackenzie. Mac, what's up?
Hey.
Hello. We rebranded to Deeper Thrones, which, still the same goal. We're going to take a look behind the scenes, talk about some stuff that we may have missed in the episode, and then also talk about a house that the dragon built. So, should be a packed episode.
Very excited. I will say I am going to miss saying Midweek Mayhem a little bit, but it had to happen. We're a professional brand now, and we needed to continue to build on that.
We're growing up. We're building.
We are.
We're building. So, Mac, we'll start as we always do. Can you take us through your Game of Thrones journey, where you started, are you a book reader, etc.?
Yeah, so I had to think about this because I remembered that I started kind of watching it when I was in college. But you guys are going to roll your eyes at me that for multiple, worldwide phenomenon shows, sometimes I'm late to the boat and I'm like, it's probably overrated if everyone likes it. And I'm not as much that way anymore, but like
cool.
even I know, sick, bro. But even for like The Office, I didn't watch it all the way through until like COVID, just because I would just see snippets of it. And I think what shifted for me, I was scared of some of the things that I'd heard about it, so I'd just see little snippets. And I think what shifted for me, it was a few years ago, Jake started to rewatch it, and I had just started to get into like the whole world building book, and I haven't read these books, but like Kinsey, so I have to give her a lot of credit, reading like Octavia Butler and like the sci-fi realm, I had never really gotten into it, and then once I felt inspired, then I started to truly understand it and got really into it.
Nice.
And so I've just watched the seasons all the way through, so I'm still kind of fresh where I didn't start from the beginning, so I know that's kind of criminal, but
no, I didn't either.
A little bit longer, yeah.
That's okay. That's awesome.
As long as you're caught up now, once that snowball starts rolling downhill, it doesn't stop.
Also, we met.
Bloomer.
Should we give a little background? Chris went to college with Mac. That's how we all know each other. And then
yes, yeah. I know. I just keep name dropping people, and like everyone's supposed to know.
Kinsey's our master of TikTok, and if people are listening to this and they don't know that, honestly, that's their fault.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Jake is my boyfriend. He's the one that kind of got me back into it, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. It's so depressing. And then first episode, I was hooked. So got to give him credit too.
Oh,
awesome! Shout out Jake for sure. We'll be expecting some engagements on social media from Jake and some shares and stuff.
Some shares and some likes.
I thought you meant like this. I'm like, way to call him out.
Oh no! I mean, yeah. Listen, that's not this podcast's job to decide. That's outside the scope of our responsibility.
So we will do our occasional plug. So please follow, like, share, subscribe, Instagram, TikTok, X, YouTube. We're really pushing the YouTube content. And you'll notice we're actually recording our Deeper Thrones episode, first one ever. So please watch that. And back to the regular scheduled programming. Mac, are you Team Greens or Team Blacks?
I am Team Black all the way, baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
By all the way, you mean like 60-40?
I would say 95-5.
What 5 is the Greens, if I might ask?
Yeah. Listen, Allison is still my girlie. I understand the struggle she's been through. I don't envy her position.
Yeah.
I feel like she's been heavily influenced by pretty terrible men in her life. And she was very young when that first started out. So I don't blame her for a lot that she does. I think the Team Green in its entirety kind of drives me nuts. Like, this woman has sacrificed everything for you, her body, her freedom, her like sense of self to help keep this family going. And she's got a couple douchebags for sons. And I'm like, how did that happen? You've got this empathetic woman who still, wants to be in cahoots with the enemy, and that's true. But how did these boys come out just being absolute tyrants? I just don't understand. But I think overall, like, Team Black, it's because, like, out of all of the father-daughter relationships, I feel like Rhaenyra and her father had the best one, which is saying something. I think, she has never lost her sense of self in all of this, even if her decisions have been completely wrong. And the amount of sacrifices that she made for Damon to keep his reputation, for her father, for her husband to stay gay and do whatever he wanted to do. It's like she completely destroyed her reputation just to keep those men thriving. And even though Damon, I think, is a little evil and he's a man-child, he's also so fiercely loyal to Rhaenyra and the entire family. And I just, for some reason, I just see Allison's kids turning on her at any point, and I just don't trust them. So I gotta go Team Black. That's my reason.
They just do that for giggles. They're cool. They're buds. Aemon Danae got her tight. There were a couple
giggles in the last show. I'll give them that. Like, I liked where they were going with that. You got a couple tee-hees from them, as opposed to just like all dark and moody and depressed and like angry about everything for no reason.
Yeah. No, I agree. I do see that as well. But I sort of also defend Aemond a little bit when he said that in the episode talking to Cole, where he was like, they're blaming me for starting this war by killing Luke, but they usurped the throne already. Like, it was happening.
Right.
Absolutely. And to play devil's advocate there, kind of along the lines Sheedy was saying, I think Alicent and Rhaenyra definitely have an element of wanting power themselves. Like, they probably lean toward the side of service and like honor and things like that, but I think there's definitely an element of them loving being in control a little bit.
But that's good though too, I think, to a degree, because you don't want to just paint I think it's natural for all humans to some degree to want that, right? And I think sometimes in media especially, it's rare for them to depict women in that light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess my only thing that I would say is, like, from Allison's perspective, it feels like she does it partially to stay relevant and for her family to respect and love her, whereas Rhaenyra does it out of duty. But like, if she gave up the throne tomorrow, like, I feel like she'd be like, fuck it, like, I want my sons, I want to live, like, she wants it because she wants revenge because of her son, but it feels like Alicent wants to do it to remain relevant so that her family will still respect her and love her. But I feel like she's been kind of programmed to believe that because her son her dad has been basically, grooming's not the right word for it, but he's been, manipulating her since she was like a very young girl. So it's like, how much of this is her and how much of this is Papa Otto, who has programmed this in her? You know what I mean?
I don't think Otto programmed her to do that to Kristen. I don't think Otto had anything to do with that.
I don't know. He's a scheming baby boy. Like, he has been doing it since she dropped out the womb. Like, I just feel like
I agree with that.
He doesn't know any other life. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like they're having cute little bedside, bedtime story reads together. Like, as he's putting her to bed, he's like, you must stay in power, know? Yeah. Like, she's totally programmed.
No, for sure.
I love Papa Otto. We'll keep that nickname around. So, the topic of the week has been blood and cheese, right? And I was doing my rewatch yesterday with my wife, and she pulled the plug. She says she quits on House of the Dragon. She made it through. Yeah, she made it through. Ned being beheaded, through Oberyn getting his head smashed in, the Red Wedding, like all these things. But the kid getting his head cut off was where the line was drawn.
Is she going to continue to listen to the pod because we need the views?
I'll just do it. I'll click into it from her phone.
I was going to say, just have her click into it and then put it on mute.
Yeah, that's all you got to do. It still counts. I think it's like 4 minutes in and it counts as a view, so it's all right.
I believe 5-star reviews, but. Mac, and then Sheeds, I'll ask you for a synopsis as well, but what did you think of Blood and Cheese, and what were kind of your takeaways, and where do you see this going from here?
Yeah, I had a really hard time with it because up until this point, I felt like Rhaenyra's decisions were, in my mind, justified, like in terms of what she was doing to protect her family. And I just feel like she's made so many sacrifices for other people, even though it's destroyed her reputation. This one kind of, I was teetering a little bit because, it feels like they've really reached this level of impulsivity where they're just being reckless. But at the same time, I can't possibly fathom what it must be like to lose a child in that light and to have the people that have done it seem somewhat unsympathetic about it or unapologetic about it. So I guess I just cannot because I can't possibly fathom that feeling, it's also, I feel like, hard for me to critique how angry she must be. So that's kind of where I stand with it.
Okay, Sheeds.
Well, I come from a family of people that were madder about them kicking the dog. So it's tough for me
People were triggered about the dog.
I'm going to say this, and I totally understand, and it's going to be on you, Chris, to try to convince her to come back to it, because it's going to be good. It's going to be a good show, and that probably will be the last, I think, scene like that specifically. But I will say this. One of the rare occurrences of Game of Thrones toning down George. D&D would take what George did and turn it up to a 10, or they would flip it to make it worse. We talked about it all the time. The amount of things D&D did for shock value that George didn't even have in his books. And Blood and Cheese in the books is a lot worse. And I'll be honest, after watching how they did it on TV, like I liked that they got lost, I liked all that. But I didn't need to see it. I'm glad that they did it the way they did, where it was off camera. But even the viciousness of them making her choose from the books and then killing the opposite to purposely, if I would have, I wouldn't have been mad if that was on the screen, just because I felt like that then really shows the viciousness. And I even postulated to you, Chris, that I thought there was a level of them again making it look like whoops-a-daisies to kind of make the blacks not seem as bad. I think that's more the choice than anything else. Even though they are killing a kid, and also it's Dame. It seems like next episode Rhaenyra is going to tell Daemon like, you fucked up by doing this.
Yeah, all very great thoughts from both of you. For me, having read the book and knowing that this was going to happen, I have a very, I enjoyed seeing it on screen, which is messed up. But I also do like the fact that the book was written in third party source, right? So years later. So I do like that they're, none of the writers were in that room. So I like that they're kind of showing a different perspective and different motives, and people getting lost and things like that. So I could very well see it, even though it differed a little bit from the books. I could see it, making sense within what was written.
For sure, and everyone always makes the story more grand and different, when they pass it down and all that. And
not to lighten the mood, but how on earth could two literal ratty men like that get through an entire castle like that? I'm sorry, but there's one guard on duty.
The issue is the other guard on duty was bagging the queen, so he was.
I understand where he was, but okay, sure, he's off doing his thing. We'll give him a pass. He seemed like he was having a fabulous time. Where is everybody else?
I think that's a great point, and it kind of leads us into our next topic here, because we're actually going to talk about some world building traditions a little bit, and I just noticed these as I was doing the rewatch. But I'll start there. So once the rebellion happens and we see Robert in power, then it's tumultuous time. We've got the War of the Three Kings happening. There's King's Guardmen on every door of the family quarters. Whereas in this, you're in a relatively time of peace, right? So I think it makes sense canonically that there wasn't guards on every single door. I bet there will be moving forward.
Yeah, it'd be a smart move.
But I like the attention to detail there. And then another one that I noticed, the Stark tradition of sending 1 in 10 men to the wall has since died in what we saw in Game of Thrones. So just like when you talk about world building, traditions change as time goes on. When we picked up in Game of Thrones, the Night's Watch was really just like a ran down, send your second sons there, send your bastards there, things like that. Whereas at this point in time, even though we're still far away from the Long Night, and even, almost a century away from Torrhen Stark bending the knee, they still have these strong traditions to send, royal nobility well, I guess not nobility because they're not kings and queens, but lords of the Stark house to the wall. So I just found that interesting that that's changed since that time.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think the wall move was a bit of fan service because in the books, the Cregan Stark, Jace conversation, I think, just happens at Winterfell, doesn't it? So go to the wall. But once they were at the wall, I was actually kind of excited. I will admit. I was like, there it is. We were there so much with Jon and Sam and Pip and Gren and Sir Alistair. So to go back to it, I thought was like a good move because at the end of the day, the book people and the fans who want this, that, and this, like, there's still a TV show with a lot of money poured into it, and their job is to put butts in the seats.
Mm-hmm. And one last thing that I noticed on the world building, there's no Master of Whispers on the small council at this point. So you'll notice, when the small council met with Aegon and Jaehaerys, that funny scene with Tywin Lannister, but the Clubfoot wasn't there. Lair Strong wasn't there. He had to talk to him like on his way out of the throne room. And I bet by the end of, maybe not the end of the season, but the end of this series, I bet a Master of Whispers is going to be on the small council.
Oh, for sure. You need one, especially it's wartime, And like you saw how valuable Varys was for years. So.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So I just nerded out over those world building traditions. No big deal.
Yeah, no, that's your right. That is your right. Especially as a book reader. Let's talk about like the green next steps because we got a lot of like the pieces now are kind of moving into place. Like, what are some of the things we heard there?
Yeah, so just to kind of summarize, because it's easy to miss these scenes where there's just a bunch of dialogue. Otto mentioned that his brother Ormond Hightower is marching from Old Town. He says that they expect to meet little resistance until the Riverlands. So just something to keep your eye on there.
Little resistance. I'm sure they will. I'm sure it'll be smooth sailing and everything.
Everything goes as planned in this world.
Always.
They also mentioned offering the Master of Ships role to Dalton Greyjoy.
Another fucking Greyjoy.
Another Greyjoy, and they're notoriously unpredictable. So also something to keep your eye on. Aemond and Kristen were war planning, and within that scene, they talked about taking the Crownlands within weeks, and they mentioned starting with Rosby and Stokeworth. So just a few things that were easy to miss in passing as those conversations were happening.
Mac, are you one of those people that hates Kristen Cole?
Yes.
Okay. No further questions.
I actually had like an answer prepared, but I don't think we have to get into it because I loved your last episode though, where it's like the poor guy just wants a girlfriend. Give the guy
he does, but so a lot of people were like ripping, even some people online were like, "Look at him, he's just laying there." When he was having sex with Alicent, and I was like, "What do you want him? Like, you're just making things up now."
It's literally a sex position.
Yeah.
Like.
I was like, this is just Kristen bashing, and I've had it up to here. Like, this is out of control.
I know. What bothers me about him is how he says these little comments about Rhaenyra. He's like, she's just like such a stinky little snake. Like, she's such a slithery little viper. And he like says these little comments, and it's like, bro, you're just mad she turned you down. Like, you're every woman's nightmare.
Yeah.
And like, she wasn't in love with you. Get over it. It's like, I was looking back, I'm like, is there a legitimate reason why he hates her? And it's like, no, he just chose because poor guy got turned down. So
and now he's being used. He's being used now by Alicent, but that's okay. We're fine with that right now. Everyone's okay with that.
Well, it's been reversed for so many years. So God forbid there's one male character that's now being used by females in power, and all the guys are like, no, like the whole Game of Thrones seasons like were all the opposites.
That poor man.
Let us just have this one reverse scenario, okay?
Hey, I'm cool with it. You can only be used so many times before it's like voluntary.
I am quite frankly, I'll be honest with you, I'm quite frankly shocked they'd show that on TV. I'm quite frankly shocked they'd put that on film. What's happening with Kristen? I'm kidding.
So the next steps on the black side. So, and again, all this stuff was mentioned in episode 1, so no spoilers around these parts. The Valyrian fleet is blockading the Gullet. Obviously, big implications for King's Landing and all trade coming in and out of there. 2,000 Stark troops are marching south. Old men, quote unquote, graybeards, marching south. Lady Jane Eyre has pledged the Vale support in exchange for dragon protection. So, question is, which dragon's going to go up there? Does that leave Dragonstone exposed? Implications from that could be coming. And Daemon Targaryen is officially setting off to Harrenhal toward the end of the episode.
I like that. I like Daemon going to Harrenhal because it's been talked about for like 3. He honestly, as soon as the Greens usurped it, he mentioned Harrenhal like 50 times in episode 10 last year. He really wants to go. I think he just wants to see the castle. He's like, I've heard it's pretty cool. And I want to check.
Harrenhal's on his wish list.
Yeah, he's like got like Harrenhal, like and like he's got like his name and hearts around it, in like his little notebook. And yeah, we're gonna see a lot of the Valerian fleet this season. I think we're gonna see even more of it next season for sure. The Greybeards, we won't see the Starks again until next season. Lady Jane Eyre, we should have already seen this season, but I'm sure that reveal happens soon. All exciting stuff.
And then another thing to note about the Valerian fleet, the Triarchy is still involved heavily in the Stepstones. So, and they just got done defeating the Valerian fleet in a battle at the Stepstones, as evidenced by Corliss's ship being damaged. So, someone to keep in mind. Don't count out the Triarchy.
Don't count out the Triarchy. They're on our big board. People to watch. The Triarchy, the big three. Cool. And then last but certainly not least, and not really last, but let's talk about House That the Dragons Built.
Yes. So
apparently Mackenzie's watched all of them last night in preparation. And we were like, you only have to watch one episode. You don't have to watch all of them.
So for those who don't know, because it's easy to miss. When you're looking at House of the Dragon, you have to like exit out of that to access a new show that's called The House That the Dragon Built. So it's not like in the extras. So if you're looking for this content, you can find it there.
Each one's about 20 minutes. Yeah, and they talk about the episode that we just watched.
Mm-hmm. One thing that they just really harped on was the massive scale of season 2 and how these sets are really, like they talked about, you feel like you're leaving a regular town and just walking into King's Landing or into the Red Keep. And I think it just goes to show the level of detail and, more importantly, the budget that they have
it's nuts.
For this.
It is nuts. They show the set build. They literally built like a city.
Mm-hmm.
And
they kind of make it sound like they ask for forgiveness, too. Like, they're like, can you afford this? And it's like, yeah.
I love that,
who's
too.
approving the budgets?
Well, Warner Brothers technically owns HBO and like DC
right.
and all that, and they're like in massive debt right now, which is
hilarious.
It
seems like they're just sending them the receipts after they're done.
Hey, good for us, I guess, as fans.
No, I love
it. Yeah, but
is money real?
No. It's fake. It's fake.
Warner Brothers is heavy on cryptocurrency right now.
Is money real? No, money is very real, but apparently Warner has a lot of it. You won't, and there's two of them, luckily, because they're brothers, so that's good. So they probably each one pays for different episodes. But yeah, no, I really liked that insight into that episode of House of the Dragons Built, seeing them put up these massive walls and the wall. They built the wall.
I mean, you talk about the wall, and they didn't. First of all, my first call would have been to like an advisor from Game of Thrones and be like, "How did you build this wall?" But they just like did it all themselves. They did a completely different tactic, and it looked fantastic. I mean, it looked like the wall we all knew and loved.
Yeah, it's funny, and they've mentioned something that we said that they've been doing, which is like they want to stay true to the original show. And they want it because their world building is important, and they want people to feel like they're at the same spot, but they're trying to make everything look younger. Like the one dude said, the guy who was in charge, he was like the snow guy. He was in charge of snow, and he was like, yeah, I wanted my snow to look a little fresher because this is 200 years earlier. And I was like, this guy, man, what a nerd.
It's insane. Like, how much? Yeah, I mean, there's people just like literally dusting off fake icicles and stuff. Like, how much do you think these people get paid?
I don't know.
I was wondering that same thing. Like the guy that's just doing the little sketch of the entire. I guess I'm thinking more for last season, but like that battle scene where they, he just sketches it and hands it to the director and is like, "Hey, does this look good?" Like, how much does he get paid?
I wonder. Yeah. And it's Ryan Condal said they have 5 directors, 5 production sets. They're essentially shooting 2 movies every single day throughout the course of a season. And it's insane. Yeah, it's insanity.
And you talked about sketches. They really paid a lot of attention to the housing quarters within the Red Keeps, or within the Red Keep, and how those are different for each character. And they started off talking about Helena's, and they talked about the graffiti that she just sketches on the walls because she's got, scattered thoughts and she's trying to put it together, but, it's difficult for her to be able to do with all these dreams that she's having. But it was like, I mean, it was premonitions. There's a baby with knives go into it in one of the graffiti art, and there's some other things we don't really know what they might be, but you can go and look at the episode if you want. There's it looks like a big sapphire glass eye almost, but I couldn't even really tell what that was.
I can't tell what it is.
It's like a big centipede looking thing.
There was a lot of like insects and lizards and stuff like that. There were dragons fighting, obviously. There's something alive, it looked like. So, but again, like the attention to detail, I think, is just really impressive.
And as we talked about in our main episode, the Targaryens have a history of being dreamers. You have Aegon himself, it turns out, the Conqueror, not this Aegon, was a dreamer because he apparently saw the darkness coming from the north, which would eventually become the Game of Thrones White Walker threat. Daenerys the Dreamer, which, to confirm, Chris, that was her name, Daenerys. She was during the Doom of Valyria, when the Targaryens were just one of many houses in Essos who owned dragons, she foresaw the Doom, and the Targaryens left, and all the other dragon riders died when the volcanoes exploded. So they have a history of dreamers. And so Helena is no different. I just think because, again, she seems to be someone who deals with a lot, she's not able to sort of put the pieces together on what those dreams mean.
And I hope we see more Helena, I guess hear more Helena lines moving forward. I think in the books she kind of becomes reclusive. So, it'll be interesting to see how it works out on air.
And the actress killed it. She's great.
I feel like this is bad timing to say that, Chris. Like right after this scene just happened with her son, I don't feel like she's not going to be super bubbly.
You know what? It'd be cool if she rebounded.
Yeah.
So I mean, like just like she verbalizes her premonitions, like when she said, "I'm afraid of the rats." And stuff.
And we can just understand her character and why she's thinking the way that she's thinking. Yeah, just any type of insight into that would be super helpful.
Yeah, I think next episode's going to be very sad because we're going to be seeing the reverberations from what just happened.
Yeah, she's going to be at brunch chatting it up and really shooting the shit with everybody.
Drinking mimosas, just talking about how,
Great tea.
And then with those same living quarters, I didn't realize that Allison's room was formerly Rhaenyra's room. And she's just going to town on Kristen Cole in there.
And that's where Kristen Cole bangs Rhaenyra.
Yeah, he's got a lot of trauma in that room.
Yeah, because technically he's getting taken advantage of by two strong people. So that's true. That's true.
I also think we'd have to admit that Allison wants to be Rhaenyra. Like,
I agree.
She wants to be her. So
I agree.
There we go. Why not move into her old bedroom and bang her old fling?
It's going to really suck for Kristen if Aemond ever moves into that room.
He's like, oh, damn it.
He's like, traditions are traditions, Kristen.
Oh, man. That sewer that Blood and Cheese crept into, that was just built on set.
I know. That was amazing.
Like, no special effects. Like, that was all.
This goes back to what Mackenzie was saying. How much money does Warner Brothers have? Because money, we joked, but it is real, and they are in debt. So it goes to show you. And again, we talked about they just started filming Hedge Knight. They just released a picture from it. They see this vehicle of Westeros as a vehicle. We talked about the other day, a vehicle to power. This is a vehicle to currency for them, and they know that this is the one area where they can't skimp.
And it looks like HBO Max upped its prices as well. I had to sign up yesterday. It was $17.99. Is that normal? I'm pretty sure that's not normal, right?
$17.99. That is higher than I thought it was. But isn't there an option with commercials?
Yeah, but listen, that's not an option.
We don't do that anymore, Sheedy.
I don't mind some commercials. Without commercials, I wouldn't know like the latest cool. Like when we were at the wedding this weekend, and we were at this bar. And we were watching like live soccer, but one of the TVs had an infomercial on about this hose that does not bundle, and it unfurls itself, and it connects to like any fitting.
See, Jake was paying attention to the dog frisbee competition that was happening.
That was good too. But
we're all over the place.
You should have seen this hose; it was amazing. It paid for itself, and if you bought one within like the next 30 minutes, you got a second one free. I didn't, and I kind of regret it now.
Oh man!
I was going to say, did you call? Because I'll take the second one.
No, I didn't. I should have. It unfurls itself and it doesn't get bundled.
You're really shedding the light on the whole situation. And speaking of light, look at that transition there. You see what I did there, guys?
Yeah, that was a good transition, Chris.
It was a good transition. The lighting is a million times better in this season than it has been throughout Game of Thrones, and I think even last season. But there are a lot of scenes set in the dark. The entire blood and cheese scene from beginning to end, even with Damon in it, was set at night and didn't have any issues, didn't get any texts or anything about people having issues being able to see things.
Yeah, that's a huge, the long night, the reason it was so dark was a conscious choice because they used so much CGI in the walkers and there was very little choreography, so they knew it looked like shit if it was bright. You know what I mean? That's why they did that. Last season, season 1, Lena's funeral looks silly because they shot it during the day on a beach in Spain and then they just darkened it in post and you're seeing shadows and stuff, so that's why that looks stupid. And it goes to show you, and for those of you, and this is back when I went to film school, the first thing they said to us is, all of you guys who want to be directors, you want to get on a film set quick, learn lighting. So,
but that's so true, though, because if you don't see any tweets or texts or anything coming in about the light, you know it was a success.
Yeah, agreed.
Couple more things to wrap up here. So, on top of Luke being Rhaenyra's son, his dragon Arax was also Cyrax's son,
which is Rhaenyra's dragon.
So
when they're both on the beach, when Rhaenyra's mourning, because she finds Luke's thing, but she finds Arax's wings, Cyrax, and we've seen this, that dragons are intelligent to some degree. It's probably aware that that's her child. So
yeah, she let out a cry there.
Oh, a little something.
Hate to see it. And Sheeds, you wanna wrap us up since you're the pro on the
I was crunching some numbers. I didn't crunch these numbers. This was in an article, and I'm just reading it. So this first episode had 7.8 million viewers, which by any metric is huge, but it was like less than the 9 point whatever that they experienced for episode 1 of season 1 of House of the Dragon. So it was down about 22% on US data, but it was still the largest streaming day in Max's history ever because it was live in Europe and Latin America and all over the world. It had not been live there, I think, yet, they said, until today. So they're hyped. Like, these numbers are great for them. And we all were a part of that. Mac, did you watch it live that night or no?
No. Remember, Franny and Luke, their flight got canceled.
Oh, that's right.
So I had to watch it in pieces. It was so sad. I'm like trying to pay attention, but my one eye is looking over, trying to pay attention. Trying to be a good friend and listen, but the one eye is veering over, trying to pay attention. So no, we had to kind of watch it in pieces, which is bad.
I think this is a good example of what we're saying with these numbers. Is that nowadays streaming has changed the way we view the success of a show because people are busy the night of, and guess what? You're able to stream it the next day. So really, they'll look a week out, 2 weeks out to get the real number of episode 1 in the season as a whole.
Yep.
And I'm sure there are a lot of people doing things for Father's Day or, things like that. So it could be an explanation for a little bit lower viewership. But speaking of Father's Day, we have a awesome game that we're going to play here. And it's inspired by our good friend and pal, Maury.
One of the greats.
People forget about Maury.
His contribution to society cannot be understated.
There should be a statue of Maury
at the Capitol.
WG. Well, yeah, that's it.
At the Capitol.
Put that. Yeah. So, long story short, this is what we're gonna do. Each one of us is gonna pick who we think our daddy would be, and we also might pick who we think our zaddy would be. And then I have a randomizer, and the options in the randomizer after we give the reason why that would be our daddy is you are the father or you are not the father. And we will determine via random selection if the person who we think would be our Westeros daddy is our daddy. But we also are going to pick a zaddy as well, which I think, in my understanding, is more of a sexual thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so but we want to, are we going to state a case for why we
all of it?
This person's our
yeah,
daddy?
You got to state a case for everything. I'm not just going to accept it.
Okay. So you want me to go first?
Mac, would you like to go first as our guest?
Okay.
Sure, I can go first.
So who would be your your father?
Yeah, so I thought about this a lot because originally I was going to go with Ned Stark.
Oh.
Because I think overall, I know it's such a cop-out answer, but you look at the success of his children, and he did something right.
Yeah,
know what I
Rickon
mean?
did great.
But
What's up, Rob?
you always have a dud kid. I mean, that's like the stats are always there.
Yeah.
Look at any family.
Yeah.
But
That's me.
I end up going with Viserys Targaryen.
Oh.
The OG father.
Yeah.
I know. So despite just everything that went on with his marriage and all, his second marriage, but I just feel like overall, the way that he handled being chosen as king, he was humbled by that. He wasn't a huge asshole about it. I know he was like insistent at first on finding a male heir, which was annoying, but then something shifted for him where he was like, no, I don't need to do this. Like, I have my heir right in front of me. And I think that's the first time in Game of Thrones history where a male person of power, I was going to say person of color, sorry guys, has, like fully entrusted in a woman's ability to rule, right? I think he kind of, for the most part, encouraged her to marry who she thought was best. He was kind of like, you do have to marry this person, but also it's your choice, which is like the first time ever, like mostly these women get sold off. And I think the biggest piece of all is that he shared his dream. He entrusted his biggest secret with Rhaenyra and didn't tell anybody else about the Song of Fire and Ice. So I think that just shows, I would want that as a papa. Oh, last thing, he didn't give off creepy papa vibes. I think Papa Otto is kind of creepy, so that's it for me.
It's just you just say that just to say. He's done nothing to be creepy.
I know. I'm sorry.
He's done nothing to deserve it.
My zaddy would be Cora.
Well, hang on. Let's see what the results are.
We're gonna see the results first.
Oh, okay. I thought we were waiting till the end.
No, it's okay. You're good. We'll get into your zaddy in a second, but I just gotta say the results are in. And oh shit! All right, Viserys Targaryen. In the case of Mackenzie, you are not the father.
No.
Oh no! Let's see what happens.
I don't think I was meant to be royal, so that honestly makes sense.
Wow,
Damn.
I didn't see
sad.
that coming because your case.
You have to run backstage.
Yeah, we'll chase you with the camera.
Does that mean that I have to have one of the shitty dads that you guys listed last week?
No, you don't have to. We just don't know
nobody?
who it is.
Okay.
It's Otto.
It's Otto. It's Otto. He's like, listen to me, daughter.
Just my luck. My luck.
I heard you said I was creepy on a podcast, daughter. So who's your zaddy?
My zaddy is, I can never say his name right, Corlys Velaryon. Honestly, I think I would have chosen him for daddy, which makes this kind of weird and creepy.
A little bit.
Both back and forth. But he is just toddy. I just feel like, I don't know. I would, and I feel like most people would. What demoted him from being daddy, though, was that obviously selling off his young as fuck daughter for marriage. And I had to eliminate all of the guys who did that. Sorry, I know it was tradition. And also, just a shout out to him. I feel like he's not getting enough time to have character development here. Like, where is he at? We need more from him. And then maybe I'll change my mind. But for now, he's zaddy.
That's still a compliment to be a zaddy, but I will say I'm also pro more Corlys.
Yeah.
Chris?
So that makes sense. We're only testing for the actual daddy.
Yeah, the zaddy, you can be attracted to anyone. It doesn't matter what the DNA results say.
He is not for you, yeah.
Yeah.
Good point about DNA. So my daddy is going to be, my father. That sounds weird if I call it my daddy.
I know,
I
felt strange saying it.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm going to say daddy.
Is Laenor Velaryon.
Laenor, wow.
And I'm going to jump into my Maury shoes. Maury, look at his ears. Look at his nose. Look at his mouth.
And Maury's like, he does look alike. Yeah.
Maury just looks at the audience. Like, what's going on? So that's my reason. Look at him. And Laenor Velaryon.
Is this what you want? Oh, okay, Laenor Velaryon. In the case of 32-year-old Chris, you are the father.
Let's go.
Nice.
Do a victory lap. Do a victory lap.
Congrats. Yeah, Chris is running around now. For those of you watching on the YouTube, for those of you listening on the podcast version, he's gone. He actually might not be rejoining. There.
I was gonna say, how big is the room?
He could be going for a while.
He just ran outside.
Okay.
I did a backflip. It was off screen. It was super cool.
Yeah.
But I did it.
And Yeah, and
I love that choice.
Laynor turned to Maury. He's like, "Listen, I'm gonna step up." He's like, "I'm gonna step up for Chris." He's like, "I'm gonna be there for Chris."
He's gonna be a zesty dad. I
Yeah.
love it.
Next thing you know, he's in us house.
Okay, so my zaddy, we're gonna go with a little more conventional pick here. I just have to go with my queen, my muse, my flame, Rhaenyra Targaryen.
Oh,
You know, zaddy. That's zaddy all day.
awesome. I can see that, and in fact, I'll talk about that shortly. My daddy is again. I feel bad that people think he's creepy, but his name is Otto Hightower.
I asked him, I was like, "You're going to choose Otto?" He's like, no, I'm between a couple picks. I'm like, okay.
At that point, I had already written this. He has ambition for his children, you know, and I feel like he would push me to the top, and he could push me to great heights. I also am very easy to gaslight, so he would love having me around because he'd just get me to do whatever he wanted.
He's influenced, yeah.
You know, when he asked me to take the throne, I would not run. I'd be there for it, unlike Aegon. I'm exactly what he would want, and I think he and I also have similar sort of temperaments, right? We're very chill and smart, kind of squirrely a little bit, right? Also, look at his eyes.
For the record, you are not creepy, Sheedy. So I just want to say that's a differentiated trait.
Thank you. You know what? Thank you. I'm glad to have that on the air.
Squirrely.
But I also think, like Chris said, if you look into his eyes and nose and my eyes and nose, me and Otto kind of have a similar facial structure. I think that's my dad, and I think I'd be his little ace in the hole. So let's see. Otto Hightower, the case of 32-year-old Sheedy. You are the father.
Oh!
Immediately.
You gotta do something.
You gotta do a lot.
Run around.
Yeah.
Run around.
Do something.
No, Chris, I was just saying, like, he'd be a great dad to a boy dad, to a boy. He's not a good girl dad.
No.
So it was hard for me to choose Otto. If I was a dude, I think he'd be my top pick, honestly.
All right.
That's true.
Not a top girl dad.
No,
yeah.
no, he's not a girl dad at all.
No.
But so I had two zaddies.
Ooh, two of them.
And hear me out. This
Like
is
at the same time?
no.
Okay.
No.
But
No. My first zaddy would be Aegon because he's a little silly. He's the king, and he sort of has that that royalty thing, and he's
that royalty thing.
He's got it going on, and it's just I honestly. He would be my friend Zaddy because I think he's a good time right now. Again, I still disagree with the stuff he pulled last season. He was accused of some things that are not good at all. And this season, though, so far, he's on the come up. He was nice to his son Jaehaerys. He wanted to be the dad for Jaehaerys that Viserys was not for him. That was a good sign.
You said friend Zaddy, so not...
Well, my second was...
I don't see him as a huge giver, if I'm being honest.
That's fine. We all have our role to play, guys. My other zaddy, though, Chris, and I don't mean to get, I don't mean for competition here, but I also chose Rhaenyra as well.
Oh.
She could be my zaddy. And I actually wrote down she's strong, and actually I could be her Kristen Cole. I could just be her, her little silly guy that she has around. And I could do the dirty work, And she could be my zaddy.
I love this choice, you guys.
Yeah.
You're just going straight royalty. You just want a king or a queen.
I wrote down, if anyone says they're both royalty, say fucking deal with it. I'm not even kidding. That's in the notes. That's literally in the notes. I'll show it to you next week. It's in there.
Me and Chris are picking, specifically based on, looks, who we'd want to bang. But Sheedy is all about get me straight to the top.
Hey.
Whatever it takes. I got Otto. I got, the whole Green family and Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra I'm attracted to Rhaenyra. I think Rhaenyra is very attractive. I think she's...
I do too.
But, she also, I feel like when she finds out that I'm pro Otto, be a little mean to me. And that we don't need to get into the gory details, but I'd be like, this is neat.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, I can see that. I approve.
That checks out.
Well, I think that's a great stopping point for us here. This is what you tune in for, folks. This is Deeper Thrones. I hope you guys picked up something that you didn't in your first watch through on this. send us your thoughts. We love to get messages and just kind of chat through stuff. So let us know what you thought about episode 1. We're only a few days away from episode 2 now, so it should be a banger. I mean, there's no way that there's no sort of there's no like.
There's no letdown, man.
Yeah. The gloves are off. The gloves are officially off. So, Mac, thanks for joining us. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, Mac, thank you.
That's all I got.
That's all I got. Hey, Allison, hit me up. You can be my zaddy.
No, be mine.
Hey, wait, what?
Check out the hand switch, shoes on swoosh, hitters don't miss. Already just added a ton of y'all to my list. Bitch, death wish, not to be messed with, tested quiz. They shooting shots.